The podcasts, the videos, the articles saved and actually read. Hundreds of hours of genuinely good material. And if someone stopped you right now and asked you to explain what any of it actually taught you, not the vibe, not the theme, something specific with real detail, you'd struggle. Most of it is just gone, not faded, gone. And the strange part is, you didn't notice it leaving. 48 hours after the last thing you watched, it's gone. You can't name a single specific thing it said. Not the argument, not the moment that landed, not even the title. That's not a focus problem. That's not a memory problem. That is your brain showing you exactly what's happening, and almost nobody is saying it out loud. Consuming content and getting smarter are not the same thing, and for most people, one is quietly replacing the other. Here's the thing that should bother you. You're putting in the work. Podcasts on the commute, articles saved and actually read, self-improvement videos at 11 p.m. because you genuinely want to be better. You're not lazy. You're doing the thing people tell you to do. And still, there's this quiet background suspicion that nothing is actually changing, that you're essentially the same person you were a year ago, despite everything you've consumed.
That suspicion is correct, and I want to show you exactly why. Think about the last time you had a genuinely good idea, something that felt original or solved a problem you'd been stuck on. Where were you? You were probably in the shower, or on a walk, or lying in bed in that half-awake state before sleep. You were almost certainly not watching a video about it, or listening to a podcast about it, or reading an article about it. The answer arrived when you stopped trying to find it. This is not a coincidence, and it's not some quirk of your personality. Your brain has a mode it can only enter when nothing is coming in. Not meditation, you don't have to try, just nothing arriving. No audio, no screen, no feed. The moment that happens, something starts running in the background that cannot run while you're consuming. It takes everything you've already encountered and quietly assembles it, connects things, finds the thread. Insights don't come from the moment of input. They come from what happens after.
The shower isn't where you relaxed enough to think. The shower is where your brain finally got the space to do what it had been trying to do all day. And every time you picked up your phone, you shut that process down. Now try this. Put your phone down for 90 seconds. Not to meditate, not to be mindful. Just put it down and don't pick it up for 90 seconds. Most people can't do it. Not because they're addicted. Well, maybe. But because within about 40 seconds, something genuinely uncomfortable starts to happen. A kind of restlessness, an almost physical pull toward input, toward something to read, watch, or listen to. And almost every time the hand moves toward the phone before the mind has even consciously decided to reach for it. And this is where most people quietly destroy their ability to think. Because what that discomfort is telling you is not what you think. It's not boredom. Boredom is passive. What you're feeling in those 40 seconds is your brain sitting at exactly the threshold where cognitive growth begins. And reaching for the phone is how you've been escaping it every single time, without realizing that's what you were doing. The discomfort of doing nothing isn't a problem to fix. It's the feeling of something starting to happen. There's a specific thing that happens when you watch something smart. You feel smart while it's playing. The ideas are clear, the logic tracks, you're nodding along, following the argument. And then there are the nights you're reading, actually reading, not just scrolling, and you get 4 pages in and realize you've retained nothing. You go back to the top of the paragraph, read it again. Still nothing lands. You read it a 3rd time and something vaguely sticks, but by morning, even that is gone. This is not a focus problem. This is not your phone's fault. This is what passive receiving looks like, even when the medium is a book, even when you're trying. Here's what actually happens. Within 48 hours, almost everything you consumed is gone. Not faded, gone. And yet the feeling that you understood it persists. That clarity you felt while the video was playing, that sense that something clicked, that stays, even after the content has evaporated. Which means you can consume something, feel like you understood it, remember almost nothing, and still, quietly, feel like you're getting smarter. You've been mistaking the sensation for the thing itself.
If this is hitting close, this channel is about saying the things that don't get said. Subscribe if you want more of it. And keep watching, because this is where it actually gets useful. This is where it gets uncomfortable. There is a version of learning that actually works. You felt it. It doesn't feel like understanding. It feels like struggle. You're reading something, or someone asks you something, and there's this moment where the answer isn't there. And instead of sitting with it, you open a new tab. Automatically. You don't even experience it as a choice. The tab opens, and the uncomfortable feeling stops. And you've done that so many times, in such small increments, that it doesn't feel like a pattern. It just feels like how you use a phone. That discomfort you're escaping, that's not a sign something is wrong. That is the mechanism. The brain doesn't change during smooth consumption. It changes during friction, during the experience of reaching for something you don't quite have yet and staying there long enough for the reaching to matter. Every time you open the tab before the question has had a chance to work on you, the answer goes in, the answer comes back out, and tomorrow it's gone. Not because you have a bad memory, because the struggle that would have encoded it never happened. Here's a fast test. Pick something you've learned recently. A concept, an idea, something from a podcast or a book.
Now try to explain it out loud to no one. Just start talking. Not the topic, the specific mechanism. Why does it work? What would you say to someone who'd never heard it? Most people get about 2 sentences in and discover they don't actually know what they thought they knew. The words start to slide. The explanation that felt effortless while someone else was giving it suddenly has no structure when you try to build it yourself. This is not a failure of intelligence. This is the difference between recognizing an idea and actually owning it. Writing does the same thing. Faster, harder, more honestly. Start a sentence about something you believe you understand and see what happens at the end of the sentence. Writing isn't recording what you know. Writing is the moment you find out whether you know it. The page doesn't let you coast on the feeling of understanding. It asks you to produce the understanding on demand. If you can't write it, you don't know it. You've just seen it before. Think about the last time you went for a walk without headphones. Really think. You probably have to go back weeks, maybe months. And when you try to remember why you stopped, there's no reason. You didn't decide to fill every walk with audio. At some point, it just became what walking was. What you've been filling, those walks, those commutes, the silence before sleep, that isn't dead time.
That is when your brain does the thing it cannot do while receiving. It consolidates. It connects. It takes the raw material you fed it and actually builds something. That process doesn't happen during input. It happens in the gap after. So when you fill every gap, you are not adding to your thinking. You are replacing the time your brain uses to do its best work with more material it will never get to process. You're not building a library. You're flooding a factory floor and wondering why nothing is getting built. One honest question before this ends. Think about everything you consumed in the last 30 days. Videos, podcasts, articles, books, all of it. Now ask yourself, how much of it could you explain right now, from memory, in your own words, not themes, not general vibes, but specific ideas with specific logic to someone who'd never encountered any of it? Do that math. Actually do it. Not as a judgment, as data. For most people, that number is close to 0. And for most people, that has nothing to do with how much they consumed.
The people who listen to 50 podcasts a year and can't recall 5 of them, they're not doing something wrong in terms of volume. They're doing something wrong in terms of what comes after. The moments you've been filling, the walks, the commutes, the silence before sleep, those weren't empty time you were wasting. Your brain was trying to use them. It was trying to connect something, consolidate something, build something from what you'd already given it. And every time you reached for the phone, you interrupted it. You don't need more content. You might need the least amount of content you've had in years. What you need is to stop long enough to let what you already have actually become yours. One commute without headphones. One evening where you sit with a question instead of watching something about it. One walk where the silence feels wrong and you stay in it anyway. The smartest thing you can consume today might be nothing at all. And if you made it to the end of this, ask yourself honestly, are you going to save it, add it to a list, and never think about it again? Because if you do, you just proved the whole thing. You didn't learn anything. You just felt like you did. Don't save it. Close the tab. Sit with it for a few minutes. That's not a bit. That's exactly what I mean. This is the Better Version Project. I'll see you in the next video.